Why do I get the feeling that some of you were wetting your lips in anticipation for this one? In January 2018, Paladins got its own temporary Battle Royale game mode, which was no doubt used as a testing ground to see whether the concept could be expanded upon so Hi-Rez could cash in on that sweet Royale trend. At the time, it was being advertised as the world's first hero shooter Battle Royale game, and compared to all the other Royales on the market, it seemed quite unique to the rest. Now, I've already explained how Paladins works, so here I'll just talk about the game mode itself. The player had the choice between 8 already existing characters and would retain their abilities when dropping in. However, rather than finding new weapons throughout the map, they would instead get upgrades for their character, similar to those found in the base game's shop, but taken to the extreme. The game mode was also stated by Hi-Rez as being built from the ground up for team play, so even playing solo would match you up with 3 other players to strategize and synergize in order to get the victory royale. It really was a unique take on the genre, as I mentioned earlier, demanding that the players take their character choice into consideration and work together in this mode, which prioritized skillful decisions and plays way more than Fortnite. The mode wasn't out for long though, being removed a little over a month after being introduced. A lot of people were quite disappointed actually. Shame something that probably initially was a cheap way of getting attention for Paladins got canned so quickly. They could have made a game out of it. On the 5th of June, Hi-Rez revealed they made a game out of it. Realm Royale got quite the attention drawn to itself when it was first released. Like a lot of attention. Like it actually took over Fortnite on Twitch and their top players are trying it out and loving it. How? Okay. Firstly, due to the weekend that Realm came out, the Fortnite servers were down, which is either due to King Ghidorah himself giving Hi-Rez his blessing, or corporate sabotage. Whichever it is, Realm was presented to the masses en masse, with its interesting take on the genre, especially compared to its Paladins iteration. It featured a class-based system this time, being able to choose from a list of 5 which all differed in playstyle, giving player choice not really found in other BR games, not until Apex Legends was released anyways. This was a welcome spin on things, since you can identify an enemy class and understand the threat and how to counter it far more easily than if classes weren't in the game. It added a good level of observation and strategy. The game also handled death differently to other BRs. On death you would turn into a chicken, stay with me, and if you survived for 30 seconds you would be revived. Slightly annoying, yes, but it allows for solo players to make comebacks and clutches that before were only doable with teams. Pickups were in this time, and not only did they give the standard affair of weaponry, but also different skills for your character to equip. They were class-dependent skills, however, so what do you do if you get something that you can't use? Well, you have the option to shard a weapon, skill, or armor, and add said shards to your person. These would then be used at the Forge, an area where a weapon, armor, or skill for your class would be created in exchange for your shards and 60 spare seconds. The Forge was a pretty ingenious choice in all honesty. Any way to bypass RNG is good in my books, but since it also serves as an objective for players to fight over, this means that camping in this Battle Royale game will actually put you at a disadvantage. These major gameplay differences seem to have been what so many people liked about Realm at first, but over the next month, the player base would sink to what are now the game could be abandoned at any point lows. How did this happen? Oh boy. Well, first of all, the game is a complete asset flip. Hey, 2 in a row! I mean, this game steals so much from Paladins, if you were blindfolded you would still think it's their short-lived game mode. Seriously, look at this! The weapons ripped straight from the game and recolored. Hi Pip, Cassie, Leon, Victor, Eve, Inara, and way more. They didn't even bother to change how they functioned or sounded. The default horses with their stiff animations, the sound effects being flat out reused. Like, come on. The skills aren't even even unique. There's Barrack's shield and his turret. There's Tyra's firebomb. There's Eevee's freeze heal and her blink. But this one's reused in all of their games, so it's less of an offense and more of a tired trend. There's Grok's ghost walk. There's Sky's smoke bomb. There's Cassie's dodge roll. There's Strix's flare. How far does this have to go? I'm even certain that the chicken is only a slightly altered version of Pip's chicken. Do you know how this makes your game look? Do you know how embarrassing this is? Other than that, the balance wasn't all that good. I mean, come on, you should expect this by now. Don't tell me you thought things would be different. The hitboxes were complete garbage, but since the game is already 3/4 Paladins, then it's to be expected, but not accepted. But this was really the extent of all the issues at launch, and they clearly didn't prove enough of a problem to turn people away. Either that, or they just didn't care. But yeah, at this point, the game was big. We're talking big. Top Fortnite players are moving over to play it while their game was offline, and pretty much every personality on the internet was giving Hi-Rez free advertisement. Hi-Rez played it cool at first, releasing small updates that were altering the game's balance, fixing issues such as the hitboxes. All that good stuff. Well, that was until the 24th of June, a whole 19 days after Realm's release, that Hi-Rez decided to make their first big change to how their game's core features functioned. In Early Access Free, fantastic name by the way, Hi-Rez decided that the Forge should no longer be capable of crafting legendary gear, which is the best rarity in the game and gave you the biggest boost in power. Yeah, the community was not happy that the main feature that was responsible for stopping camping was now gone. What's worse is that Hi-Rez didn't even bother to put such a game-changing update on the test servers or something beforehand to see if it was fine. They just put it out. And yeah, everyone was upset. Not just that, they were baffled. Remember that these people were new to the Hi-Rez cycle. They didn't understand yet that changes will be made for no reason other than to change things. So Reddit posts were made, tweets were hashtagged, and the Steam forums were bombed. This frustration even extended to the top personalities supporting the game, the most famous of them being a man called Ninja, who tweeted that the developers should be focusing on improving the game's quality rather than redoing mechanics. The at the time executive at Hi-Rez, Stuart Chisholm, now the CEO of the company in case you're wondering, even replied to his tweet, agreeing that they were in the wrong. One day later, this aspect of the patch was promptly reverted. Yeah, Realm fans were probably happy, but Smite and Paladins fans were absolutely furious at this. Remember, this was in 2018, arguably when both games were at their poorest in quality, so for them to see that Hi-Rez would only listen to the community's complaints if they were able to get a big name on board was the biggest insult they never told us. The backpedaling on the update was even stranger, honestly. Hi-Rez never reverse any terrible decisions they make. OB64 was an exception. Maybe Ninja, his army of flies, and all their green notes just taste that sweet. Okay, let's derail a little bit and look at the Steam charts. If you know anything about Realm Royale, then you've probably heard that its player count sunk due to bad decisions made by Hi-Rez, and while that for sure has a part as to why, the player counts for Realm were sinking since day one. By July, the player count had gone down by 100,000 to 25,000. In August, it went down further to 9,000, and ever since then, it's all been downhill. Well, why did this happen? I thought everyone liked the game. Well, first of all, this happens to every free-to-play game. It gets a big launch, then teeters out until only the players who enjoy it are playing. Secondly, the bugs and other issues from launch may have had an effect during those first few weeks. Thirdly, I think everyone went back to Fortnite. It's just a way more polished game. Hi-Rez's attempts at self-sabotage also probably didn't help, but I really don't think it was the sole reason why Realm dipped so low. They must have been jealous that they weren't the whole reason though, because on the last day of August they released Update 8, where they removed classes from the game. They removed the biggest selling point of Realm Royale and the only thing that made it different from the other battle royales on the market. Like, I'm shocked. Why would you think this is a good idea at all? I could talk about how Realm has been adjusted since then, what being well over a year old at this point, but I don't really care. And be honest, neither do you. I could talk about how the player count was raised from 70 to 100, therefore increasing queue times. I could talk about the number of bots that eventually started filling up matches because there aren't enough players. I could talk about the size of the map and how it's too small. I could talk about the idea of having a ranked game mode in a game with this much RNG. I could talk about the community and how they're only one step away from kissing a truck. I could talk about all this stuff, but I don't want to because my interest is in the negatives. If Hi-Rez want to chase fads, then they're free to do so, but fads fade fast and so does the interest of the public. One thing I will talk about though is this. During a live stream by a guy called Void, Hi-Rez Erez, the at the time CEO of the company, appeared in his chat and had some choice words for him. Now the Twitch clip in question has been deleted, gee I wonder why, but there are still manuscripts of what he said. For the actual Twitch clip though, I'll have to use an excerpt from a Miffy Moo rant.
This one guy's streaming and
the minute I get partnership, I'm not playing this game anymore, dude.
he says he's fucking tired of the game, Royale.
It's so depressingly awful.
And then as any CEO of a giant company that needs to advertise for the game, he of course goes to the chat and says, play the mode like you're supposed to with a team and stop crying. It's just kind of fucked up. Well, I can't say it's not funny. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, this one over well. The community reacted as expected, and more people probably abandoned the game. There was even a song about his antics which was mildly amusing. But this raises a larger question. Who is Erez and what does he do? Well, Erez is the owner, founder, and ex-CEO of Hi-Rez, forming the studio in 2005 and backing it with his own pockets ever since. I should mention that he is probably the only stakeholder in the company. Maybe Tencent got involved back in 2013, but their servers for the Chinese version of Paladins went down in November 2019. Either way, he has a bit of a reputation with the various communities of the games he's made. To put it simply, he appears to have a habit of making more extravagant changes within the company's products without consideration for the effect that they may have. Well, that's the nicest way of putting it. The communities hate this guy. I mean, the stuff he's said and done in the past probably doesn't help with this perception. Stuff that we can see out in the open involves abusing Reddit systems, asking for upvotes for information about releases. This was noticed in the Global Agenda 2 Reddit when everyone had still tricked themselves into thinking a sequel was coming. But things we can't see are far more interesting, don't you think? Glassdoor Reviews, a website where employees can leave reviews of their businesses anonymously, have had quite a history with Hi-Rez. Now, while I must consider, due to the anonymity that the website provides, some of these reviews may have been falsified. But let's be honest, it's basically all true. This image was a collection of said reviews that was going around last year, and a lot of write-ups provided very similar reasons as to why the company was a horrific working environment. Some of these include Erez micromanaging aspects of all in-development games to ensure that he specifically finds them fun, project priorities and goals being changed on the fly due to his demands, communication overall being exceedingly poor, staff being verbally abused and ousted from social environments such as playtesting, there being no clear vision for each project, and overall behaviour that made it seem like he was treating the company more like a fun side project rather than a serious business. Like, seriously, go into the description and look at this image. If you play Hi-Rez games, then the similarities between what's written here and how it translates into their games is scarily accurate. A part of me honestly doesn't want to believe it, that one man can have so much control over every aspect of a company without anyone intervening. The reviews say that anyone who tried to stop him at any point got it pretty bad, so who can do what about it? Well, good news I suppose, since it's already happened. In the beginning of 2019, Hi-Rez announced in a document that also said Season 5 was Smite's best year. It stated that Erez would be stepping down as CEO to chairman, while still retaining his majority ownership of the company. Now Stuart Chisholm is the CEO, and has been for a while, and let's be honest guys, you couldn't tell the difference. 2019 has been a bad year for Smite and Paladins, and Erez isn't even in charge anymore. Tell me viewer, does it frighten you? The thought that maybe your scapegoat wasn't the bad guy? I personally think it's plain old incompetence. But yeah, enough about Hi-Rez. I've explained all I wanted to. Back to Realm. Or what's left of it anyways. Jeez, those player numbers. Listen, all I'm saying is that you guys are getting updates very infrequently now, so if the announcement comes that you guys are officially releasing, I would hold my breath before celebrating. Instead, I would start panicking. All I can say now is that I'm glad I never played it or got invested, because I knew that it was a game made by Hi-Rez, and that something like this would happen down the line, no matter how long it took. Surely all those players knew, right? They didn't just not know what they were getting into. They didn't willingly play a Hi-Rez game while knowing what they do. Right? Deathstroke.